Today, we're going to talk about a shoe that's been around for a while, but according to HOKA, with this new version, they are taking a big step forward. Today, we're going to talk about the HOKA Bondi 9. Hey runners, my name is Letty. I host the Marathon Running Podcast every week, and this is my YouTube channel where we do all sorts of running content, including trips to Kenya and vlogs and running news, etc., and shoe reviews. So feel free to check all of that stuff out. And today we're going to do a shoe review. We're going to review this HOKA Bondi 9. But before we do that, a quick disclaimer. This shoe has been provided to me for the purpose of review. However, no one is paying me for this review, and all opinions expressed here are my own. Alright, so for today's shoe review, obviously we're going to do it in an organized manner, but I also wanted to throw in that I'm going to be comparing the predecessor, the HOKA Bondi 8, directly to a lot of stuff I'm going to say about the HOKA Bondi 9, just because there has been so much updating happening with the shoe, and what better way to do it than having them side by side and showing you the differences. But let's start with the model and purpose of the shoe. So the HOKA Bondi 9 is an everyday running shoe, just like the previous HOKAs. So Bondi always means that they're going to be the daily trainer. They're going to be the ones for your recovery miles, easy miles. They're not anything fast, just a comfortable one, including walks. A lot of people wear these shoes when they go to work, when they spend a lot of time on their feet. And I can definitely see that I have worked in these shoes and I've traveled in these shoes and I've mowed the lawn in these shoes. They're just really, really comfortable. So this shoe is exactly for that, including your time on your feet, long distance running as well. Now, when it comes to the tech specs, here is normally when I kind of put in the screen that shows you what HOKA says. However, there was some conflicting information when I looked up the women's HOKA Bondi 8, comparing it to the Bondi 9. It stated that the HOKA Bondi 8 comes in at 8.9 ounces and the new one at 9.3 ounces, which would indicate that the new HOKA Bondi 9 is heavier, but it's not. So what I did was I put the HOKA Bondi 9 as well as the HOKA Bondi 8 on a scale. And there you were able to see that the HOKA Bondi 8 came in at 10.4 ounces for ladies, 8.5. And the new one, the HOKA Bondi 9, comes in at 9.2 ounces for ladies, 8.5, which is pretty crazy. It's an ounce, 0.2 difference, which is a lot. Both of these shoes are neutral and they're also plush. But the other difference is that the stack height now for the HOKA Bondi 9 is at 43 millimeters with a 5 millimeter drop. So the old one was a 4 millimeter drop, and you can actually, with that one, you can barely tell the difference between that, but that's that. All right, so let's hop into the key features and talk about what's new with the HOKA Bondi 9 besides the stack height and the weight that we've already discussed. So the HOKA Bondi 9 has a knit upper, which is different than the one before. They also have a 3D molded collar to the shoe, which makes it very nice because that molded collar really stays in place. Even if you try to step on it and squish it down, that thing stays in place, so I can't see any chafing ever happening on anyone's Achilles with this shoe. That was very beautifully done. Another big thing that HOKA has done is that they have replaced the midsole foam and now are using a premium foam midsole that is made out of supercritical EVA foam. And I know all this foam lingo is confusing, and last week I just published a video on the foam lingo if you want to check that out. But EVA foam is basically the durable foam that you use for your long runs. And supercritical, it just means that it's infused with gases to make it lighter and bouncier. So that's all that really means. It's a lighter and bouncier foam than the previous foam, similar to the one that you see in the Max 6. And again, that foam is more durable than most foams. This is not the foam that you see in your racing shoes. And that's the reason why they can put it into a long run shoe. Another thing that is different now with this shoe is that it now has a rear foot focused active foot frame in there, making it a very stable shoe. Not that it wasn't stable before, but and a Durabrasion rubber outsole. So those are the key features of this shoe. Next, the price point of the shoe right now is $170 compared to the previous version that is now listed on the HOKA website at $165. But for the previous version, if you're into the HOKA Bondi 8, you can find the shoe probably for around $115 if you just put it into the Google shopping search from websites that actually work and do not defraud you, like Zappos and Dick's Sporting Goods, etc. So there is a jump in price point if you want to take advantage of that right now. But maybe you don't want to do that because you do want the updated version of the shoe. And I guess you'll make your determination after watching a few videos. As for the colors of the shoe, of course, HOKA has them available in a ton of different colors. You have the white on white, vanilla birch, starlight glow, black and rose gold, aster flower, starlight glow, which is the shoe that I have, stardust silver, cosmic gray and white, black and white, black and black. The men's shoe is of course also available in a ton of different colorways, such as varsity navy, sea moss eucalyptus, white white, oatmeal oat milk, drizzle downpour, black black, galactic gray, stellar gray, black white, cosmic gray and ultramarine, as well as Luna Moth Blue Spark. Last but not least, what I want to mention is that the shoe also is available in wide. All right, so let's talk about the first impression that I had of the shoe. Of course, obviously, HOKA always has beautiful shoes. The shoe looked beautiful, just as the Bondi did when I first got it. And I didn't notice all the little differences until I put on the shoe and I further inspected it. So let's talk about that. The very first thing I noticed as soon as I put the shoe on was, are these shoes the same size? I'm an 8.5, as you guys know, and I have a normal foot. It's not wide, it's not narrow. When I put on the HOKA Bondi 8, I have a lot more room up here in the forefoot than I have in the Bondi 9. And that is because they are trying to get away from the bigger platform clown shoe type of looking shoe, I believe. Personally, I liked the width better and having that extra room, but obviously you can solve that by just buying wide shoes. It doesn't bother me and it doesn't interfere with my foot at all. I just liked having that extra room. Maybe it's because I currently live in Florida and it's always hot here, and I like to really spread out my toes, especially when I'm doing recovery runs. With this one, it happens too, but just not as much. The other thing I noticed right away is the heel tab, or the lack of the heel tab in the new shoe, which kind of, you almost don't need it because you have a different heel color with the shoe, right? They have this heel color that I don't have to pull this back when I put my foot in. I just kind of use my finger. So that's good. Now when it comes to the upper, this new upper feels a little bit more stretchy, and it's a knit upper, but it feels very similar. It looks very similar to the HOKA Bondi 8, but the HOKA Bondi 8 upper is not stretchy, whereas the fabric of this one is. It's very minimal, but it is a difference. As for the tongue, the previous version was a little bit gusseted. It had that little connection to the shoe. This new tongue is just a regular tongue, kind of like old school, but it does stay in place, so it doesn't really bother. It's a little bit shorter than the predecessor's tongue, but it doesn't bother me. What does bother me personally a little bit is that for both of those, there seems to be a lot of cushion on the upper. Personal preference, I don't like having so much cushion in the upper because for me that means extra sweat sitting on my shoe and just the shoe more drenched when I run in Florida. But it's a very comfortable shoe nevertheless. So with that, let's see what the shoe looks like when I wear it. I am sold on it. I like the shoe. It's going to be in my rotation of daily trainers for easy runs, recovery runs, it feels very stable. Of course, it's heavier than any shoe that I would do any type of tempo or speed work with, but again, it's a Bondi. It's not designed for that. I feel like they have made a great improvement with how the shoe flows when you run with it. So it did feel good. However, if you are looking for a shoe that is super plush, this is not the plushest on the market. You do feel like it's a little bit stiff. It's plush but stiff. It's hard to explain. So basically, you're not going to get the spongy, bouncy feel with this shoe, but you're going to get stability. So if you're looking for something more plush, one shoe that I just reviewed and another shoe that I'm currently reviewing are the Mizuno Neo Zen, which is super, super plush, and the Adidas Evo SL, which is also more plush than the shoe. But again, now we're talking about completely different foams and maybe a little bit of different purposes of shoes. I just wanted to mention that in case you thought you're going to get the spongiest and plushiest shoe with this. You won't, but it will be plush and it will be a great ride. The fact that it is narrower didn't bother me at all. And if anything, I guess it attributes to better looks, especially if you're planning on wearing the shoe for work and you don't want to show up with a shoe with a big platform. And I think that's why HOKA also has all these great colors and color patterns. You know, you can just get a simple white one or a simple black one, and you don't have to have shoes so loud when you're simply just wearing it to work if you're working in a place where you're on your feet all day. I personally am tempted to use a shoe also for traveling and other activities that maybe do not include running, or have it be a shoe that I'm going to take with me if I'm just going to go somewhere for a weekend where I know I'm not going to do any tempo runs and I'm just going to be running. So maybe it can double up as a shoe that is for walking and running as well. So do I recommend this shoe? I absolutely do. I love where HOKA is taking this model, and I can't wait to see where it'll go in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you like this content, consider subscribing. Until next time, have a great week of running.